Following the war between Hamas and Israel, 32 residential areas in South Israel were evacuated, as well as 28 residential areas in the north. Agriculture was one of the hardest hit sectors. In the first days after the October 7 Hamas attack, this dairy farm in Kibbutz Nir Yitzchak, about 5 kilometers from the Gaza border, stood empty. The electricity supply to the barn was damaged. Cows were not fed or milked.
At the beginning, the barn's managers over the phone tried to explain to the soldiers who had no idea about cattle how to milk cows.
Help came from an unexpected source. Brothers in Arms, a movement founded by a group of the former Israeli military commanders that spent 9 months protesting what it called the anti-democratic policies of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. The movement stepped in to organize volunteers to deal with the crisis.
I think what made us different than other protest groups was because we are all ex-officers, commando officers and submarine officers, naval commando and all this, we are very good in planning operations, in driving activities.
Ronen Kohler, one of the Brothers in Arms founders, says he spent 42 years wearing the Israeli Navy uniform. He says the activity is managed at a headquarters handling logistics and the network of 8,000 volunteers in the field. Volunteers with combat unit training were the first to respond.
Got into their cars and just drove to the south and just engaged with everything that was needed there, helping soldiers, getting civilians out of their homes. They just did what was needed. The other half, which were less trained, actually said, okay, we're going to be here at the back in Tel Aviv and we're going to support you.
Over the past few weeks, the operation grew from procuring protective gear and packing and distributing donating supplies to sending groups of volunteers to pick the harvest in evacuated areas and keeping the farms alive. Lee Moll, who came to volunteer in Kibbutz Nir Yitzchak for the second time, says he came because despite the Hamas attack, for him this barn is a place of hope.
They could have closed the barn and asked for compensation from the government. But it's a matter of values, of ideology, of mutual support. We are all in it together.
He says when the volunteers started working on restoring operations on the farm, they had to throw away all the milk.
For 2 weeks we were milking without light, in darkness, just with light from outside. And step by step, everybody was excited about everything when we moved from 1 milking per day to 2. And then we were waiting for approvals that the milk we were getting is good to go to the market, or it'll be thrown to garbage. It was one of the happiest moments in my life when we got the message that the milk quality got approved and it was back to normal.
Things in Nir Yitzchak are hardly back to normal. Just before the evening milking shift, volunteers join a few members of the kibbutz at the local cemetery for a commemoration ceremony for those who were killed by Hamas on October 7. Most of the kibbutz members are still evacuated. 3 were kidnapped by Hamas, and kibbutz member Doron Stamker tells us most of the kibbutz fields are not reachable because of Hamas mortar fire.
The fields right now are not workable. It's on that side near Gaza. It's impossible to get there because of safety issues. It's the peak of the season. Potatoes, carrots.
Produce from the villages near the Gaza border that volunteers were able to save is sold these days in a pop-up market in Tel Aviv. Organizers say that it was moved to the underground parking lot because of the sirens warning of incoming rocket attacks. I asked Brothers in Arms leaders if the war changed their position toward Netanyahu's government. Ronen Kohler says that protesting until the war is over is not a viable option.
It doesn't make sense from any perspective to go and demonstrate now and be active against the government while our friends are fighting. It also doesn't make sense from a security. You know, we don't want our policemen to protect a demonstration rather than protect the citizens.
He adds, though, that the movement stands behind its message that Prime Minister Netanyahu failed in most of his decisions of the last year and that he should leave office. Anna Mozgovaya, VOA News, Kibbutz Nir Yitzchak, Israel.